Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. 2022 was a fantastic year for new movies, so I thought what better way to end the year than to count down my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Now, there's still a handful of movies I've yet to see as they haven't come to theaters near me or they aren't out on streaming yet. I'll place a few of those on the screen just so you know some movies that I haven't been able to check out yet, but so far I've seen 36 new movies that came out this year, and I've had an absolute blast with the majority of them. So, without further ado, let's jump into them. And also, I apologize, I'm a little bit stuffy, so if my voice drowns out or I sound a little bit weird, it's because of that. Coming in at number 20, I have Bullet Train. At number 19, I have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. At number 18, I have Jackass Forever. Coming in at number 17, I have Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. At number 16, I have Scream 5. At 15, I have X. At 14, I have Men. Coming in at 13, I have Triangle of Sadness. At number 12, I have Avatar: The Way of Water. Kicking off my top 10, I actually have two films tied for the 10th slot. The first being A24's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is definitely one of my favorite screenplays of the year. A group of 20-something-year-olds are stuck in a house during a hurricane and they decide to play a murder mystery game. When one of them turns up dead, they all start to turn on one another as they try to figure out who the killer really is. This movie is fantastic. I was laughing my ass off in the theater throughout the entire runtime, and it definitely ended up being one of my favorite horror movies of the year. This is one that I highly suggest checking out if you love any sort of horror movies or any sort of comedy movies. Tying for that number 10 slot is Jordan Peele's Nope. Now, I'll admit, I was not the biggest fan of this movie when I walked out of the theater in July. It didn't really feel like a straight-up horror movie like Peele's previous two movies, Us and Get Out. But after sitting with me for a little bit and listening to some other people's thoughts on the movie, I've definitely come around to enjoying it a lot more. This movie is massive. It's a giant family, almost adventure type movie, but it carries that hard R rating. I really enjoyed the brother-sister duo between Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer in this movie. I think the family aspect really grew on me after sitting with the movie for a while, and really just trying to take in the grand scope of the movie. This film is huge. It has those amazing IMAX scenes we all saw in the theater, and I really think this is one of the best horror movies of 2022, but I think you should go in with the expectation that this isn't a straight up true horror film. Coming in at the number 9 slot on my list is Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All, starring Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet. Now, if you told me at the beginning of the year that a movie on my top 10 list would be a coming-of-age road trip cannibal movie, I probably would have looked at you very strangely, but this movie really blew me away. It has a lot of heart, the script is fantastic, it has some really creepy elements, but at the most of all, it has fantastic acting. Chalamet and Russell give two of my favorite performances of the year, and this movie really just blew me away and touched me deeply. I would say this movie is definitely not for everyone, but if you're into the idea of a different type of view on cannibals within a movie, definitely check this out, as this movie is amazing. Coming in at number 8 on my list is Zach Cregger's Barbarian. Barbarian follows a girl who rents an Airbnb in Detroit one night, but turns out there may be other things in the house that are lurking in the shadows. This is a movie I kind of went into blind, and I came away absolutely stunned, and I loved every second of this movie. If I had to compare it to anything, I'd compare it to Malignant of last year. It's a movie that's very bombastic, in your face, a little bit over the top, and it's a horror flick. And that's a lot of things put together that I absolutely love. Malignant is a movie that was in my top 10 last year, so I think Barbarian is a very similar film that slots in very nicely to my top 10 this year. If you love super weird, gory, over-the-top, and strange horror flicks that also have a little bit of comedy, you'll definitely want to check out Barbarian. Getting away from horror, number 7 on my list is The Banshees of Inisherin. The movie follows two friends on an island in the 1920s. When one decides he no longer wants to be friends with the other, a grudge begins to form that will impact them for the rest of their lives. This movie is amazing. Martin McDonagh masterfully shot this film, and the script is wonderful. It has a lot of underlying dark comedy, while still carrying a lot of weight and sadness and depression along with it. Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, Carrie Condon, and Barry Keoghan give 4 of the best performances of the year, and they deserve all the praise they're about to get to this upcoming award season. This movie is dark and dreary, but I couldn't help but smile at certain parts all the way through it. It's a movie that impacted me deeply, and I've been thinking about it a lot since checking it out. At number 6 on my list, I have Steven Spielberg's The Fablemans. This movie is a semi-autobiographical look at Spielberg's childhood and how he came to be the filmmaker we know him today. After seeing the movie, I thought a lot about if I would have cared about this movie if Spielberg wouldn't have been the one to make it, and I think the answer to that is probably no, even though it's a very well-made movie. But I think the magic behind the movie is we all know how Steven Spielberg has had such a lasting impact on cinema over the past 3+ decades that he deserves to tell this origin story. It's a really touching story about family, but also has, the underlying commentary about family mistrust, divorce, struggling in your teenage years, and just kind of all those beats you love from a family drama or a coming-of-age film. It's a truly magical ride, and you get to take a peek inside one of the greatest filmmaker minds of all time. At number 5, I have the satirical thriller The Menu, starring Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy. The movie follows a group of wealthy rich people that go to an island to experience an exclusive restaurant ran by one of the world's greatest chefs. When they arrive, though, the chef has some unexpected surprises in store for the group. Now, me, along with many other people, when they saw the trailer initially, your mind goes straight to cannibalism for what this movie is going to be about. But that's not what it's about at all. It's definitely about the wealthy class and their mistreatment of lower level people, and a lot to say about criticism as a whole in the restaurant industry. This movie is super funny. I was laughing out loud at certain parts, but it also has a lot of tense moments as well. It's a very tight script that is very well acted, and it leads to some amazing moments of tension and some of my favorite comedic moments of the year. I really think if you are a fan of any sort of comedy or thriller genre movies, you really need to check out The Menu, as this is a ride that a lot of people will enjoy. Coming in at number 4 is Damien Chazelle's new movie, Babylon. Now, as of making this video, this movie is still in theaters and kind of doing poor with critics and doing very bad at the box office. But I'm here to tell you that this movie is an absolute blast. I love the set designs in this movie. They are extravagant, huge, loud, and the performances are just as big and in your face. This movie is about Hollywood during the 1920s and 30s, and how these three main characters, played by Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, and Diego Calva, kind of made a name for themselves or are on their decline throughout the silent film transition into the talkies era. This is a film that is about the love of the movies, and it's for movie lovers. So if you aren't the biggest movie fan, I can see how you wouldn't like this movie. It also has an off-the-rails ending that's unlike anything I have experienced in the cinemas before, and I loved every second of it. It's a movie that really just makes you sit there and think and reflect on yourself about the impact that movies have had on us as a culture, but also kind of makes you think about how many people have worked on films throughout the past 100 years to get us to the point where we are today with movies, grand CGI, $100 million budgets, and all that type of things. This is a movie that I absolutely love, and I'm so excited to check out and rewatch again. Kicking off my top 3 is probably one of the best blockbusters I've seen in the past 10 years, Top Gun Maverick. This movie blew me away in the theaters. All of the planes flying by, all of the epic stunt work, and that amazing sound mixing and design really sold this movie for me. I was glued to my seat and on the edge for every single new action scene that was taking place. Tom Cruise cemented himself as one of the last true remaining movie stars as this film raked in over $1 billion as we all flocked to the theater to go see it. The story isn't the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's what it had to do to be this perfect, epic popcorn blockbuster of a movie. I really enjoyed every single second of this movie, and that Val Kilmer scene absolutely killed me. If for some reason you still haven't checked out Top Gun yet, make sure to check it out as soon as possible. From epic blockbuster to small budget indie flick, number 2 on my list is Cooper Raif's sophomore film Cha Cha Real Smooth. The film follows a guy who just graduated from college and moves back in with his mom and kind of forms a unique relationship with a young mom in her 30s and her daughter. This movie punched me right in the gut. I cried multiple times throughout this film. If you know me, I love a great coming-of-age flick, and this one emotionally affected me probably the most since The Edge of 17 came out in 2016. This is a movie that perfectly encapsulates that confusing, weird feeling you have in your mid-20s, where you're an adult, but you're in this weird transitionary period of your life where you really don't know where you want to go or what you want to do, and you still have, a lot on your plate, and you're still trying to figure everything out. It's very emotionally charged, and every single scene that Dakota Johnson and Cooper Raiff were in were absolutely amazing. Dakota Johnson gives one of the best performances of the year, and I'm very upset that she's not getting any recognition at any of these award ceremonies so far this year, because she definitely gives probably one of my top 5 performances of the year. This movie is amazing. You can watch it on Apple TV. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This movie is phenomenal. And my number one film of 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, that probably is a massive shock, as this movie took the world by storm this year, but the fact that the Daniels crafted such an amazing film on such a small budget is truly astonishing. Not only that, it has lots of great commentary on family, cultural differences, and kind of the struggles that many immigrant families deal when moving to America. This movie evokes so many emotions out of me, it's crazy. I was laughing one second, then I was crying. At some points, I didn't know if I was laughing or crying, as I had tears streaming down my face, and you just don't really know how to feel at certain points of this movie. It's definitely one of the best multiverse and time travel movies I've ever seen, and it's just one of the best feel-good movies of the year as well. All the performances in this movie are outstanding. Michelle Yeoh, Ki Kwan, Stephanie Soo, and Jamie Lee Curtis are just amazing. I hope they win all the awards this award season at the Oscars, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice Awards, etc. They deserve all of it. This is one of the most unique films I've ever seen, and I definitely think this might be one of the best movies of the decade when we look back on it 8 years down the road. If you have not checked out this movie yet, make sure to do, as this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I want to thank you for checking out my top 20 movies of 2022. Let me know what you think about my list in the comments below, and while you're down there, please drop a like and leave a comment of your top 10 favorite movies of the year. Also, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, as I have a lot of new videos planned for the new year. Thank you, and have a good one, everybody.